Before we begin, please subscribe to K9 Miracle Stories. Many of you watch but don't hit subscribe, and your support means we can bring you more stories like this. The penitentiary woke under a heavy silence that morning. Even for a place built on discipline and fear, there was something different in the air. The guards felt it. The prisoners felt it. The corridors carried a weight as though they were holding back a storm. Daniel sat inside his cell, staring at the chipped floor. 7 years had carved deep furrows into his face. 7 years of waiting, of counting down to an ending he could not escape. Once, he had been sharp, defiant. Now, his eyes carried only weariness and an unspoken sadness. When the warden entered, flanked by 2 officers, Daniel didn't look up immediately. He already knew what the question would be. Any last request? The guards braced themselves for the familiar answers: a steak dinner, a final phone call, a letter scrawled in shaky handwriting. But Daniel's reply was something none of them had expected. "I want to see Max. My dog." The silence that followed was suffocating. Some guards scoffed. Others exchanged uneasy glances. A condemned man asking for a dog instead of family? For them, it was absurd. For Daniel, it was everything. Because Max was no ordinary dog, Max was the last piece of the life Daniel had lost. Before the trial, before the cell, before the world turned its back, Max had stood by him through it all. And now, on the edge of his final day, Daniel needed only to look into the eyes that had never judged him. The warden leaned back, studying Daniel with curiosity. "No one has ever asked for that," he said slowly. "Bringing an animal into a maximum security prison, especially today, carries risks." The guards debated for hours. Some argued it would disrupt the procedure. Others, quieter, pointed out that Daniel had never caused trouble in prison. No fights. No escape attempts. A clean record despite years of hopelessness. Finally, the warden made his decision. 10 minutes. In the yard. Closely watched. The news spread quickly. Some mocked it, calling it pathetic. Others, secretly, felt a strange respect. A man's final wish revealed his soul. And Daniel's wish revealed a soul clinging to one final bond of love. That morning, the prison yard stood still. Daniel waited near a lone chair, wrists cuffed loosely in front of him. His eyes never left the far gate. Each tick of the clock was a hammer on his chest. And then it happened. The gate creaked open. A German shepherd entered, flanked by 2 officers gripping a taut leash. His coat was black and tan, though time had frosted his muzzle with gray. His steps were slower now, stiff from age. But the moment his eyes found Daniel, the years vanished. "Max." The leash went slack. The dog surged forward. Daniel fell to his knees as Max crashed against him, whining with a sound that was half sob, half joy. Daniel buried his face into the thick fur, inhaling the familiar scent. For a moment, everything dissolved. The chains, the walls, the countdown, all gone. It was just a man and his dog. Reunited. But then, Max froze. The wagging tail stilled. His body stiffened. His ears pinned forward. And from deep inside his chest came a growl that turned the yard's silence into electricity. Daniel tensed. Max was staring at someone. Officer Jenkins. Tall, rigid, his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes avoided Daniel's. His jaw tightened. Max's growl deepened, flashing teeth in a silent warning. The guards shifted uneasily. "Control your dog," one snapped. But Daniel knew. Max never growled without reason. Not once in all their years together. And Max's instincts had saved him more times than he could count. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Hours later, Daniel was called into a small interview room. Max was allowed to stay, lying at his feet but tense, his eyes glued to the door. Officer Ramirez, one of the few who had always treated Daniel with quiet fairness, stood in the corner. Across from them stood Jenkins. The warden's voice was low, careful. "Jenkins, why didn't you disclose you were at the scene the night of Daniel's arrest?" Jenkins' jaw worked. "I wasn't on duty. Just passing by. Didn't think it mattered." Max exploded into a bark that rattled the walls. His body shot upright, hackles raised, growl rolling like thunder. Ramirez's eyes narrowed. "That's not nothing. Dogs don't lie." The room thickened with tension. Then Ramirez leaned toward the warden. A witness came forward. Said they saw a man leaving Daniel's house before the police arrived. Description matches Jenkins. The warden's face darkened. His voice was sharp. "Effective immediately, Daniel's execution is delayed. The case is reopened." Daniel's chest tightened. It wasn't freedom, not yet. But it was hope. Hope he hadn't felt in 7 years. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Evidence long ignored resurfaced. Fingerprints were retested. Witnesses were questioned again. And the cracks widened. The prints didn't belong to Daniel. They belonged to Jenkins. The timeline didn't match Daniel's alibi. It matched Jenkins. Piece by piece, the truth emerged. Jenkins had been there that night. Jenkins had planted evidence. Jenkins had orchestrated the frame-up that stole Daniel's life. And now, thanks to a dog who refused to stay silent, the truth clawed its way to the surface. Weeks later, the gates opened. For years, they had symbolized nothing but endings. But today, they swung wide for Daniel's freedom. And waiting beyond them was Max. Tail wagging. Eyes bright. Loyal as ever. Daniel dropped to his knees, pulling him close. Tears burned his eyes as he whispered, "We made it, boy. We made it." The crowd of reporters watched. Cameras flashed. But Daniel saw none of it. He saw only Max, the one soul who had never doubted him. Max hadn't just saved him. He had exposed the truth. Daniel's release became national news. Journalists called it the dog who stopped an execution. Commentators called it a miracle. But for Daniel, it wasn't a miracle. It was Max. A loyal companion who remembered. A dog who carried instincts sharper than any lie. A friend who proved that love and loyalty can outlive betrayal, outlive walls, even outlive time itself. And as Daniel stepped into the sunlight, Max at his side, he knew one thing for certain. This wasn't just freedom. This was a second chance. A chance to live, not as a condemned man, but as the man his dog had believed in all along. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to K9 Miracle Stories. More tales of loyalty, courage, and second chances are coming. Don't miss them.